get to it, so we're fine. 1 minute. Well, you know, the state says you say when you're gonna start, that's when you start, so. I'm just surprised we're all here this early. Nobody last minute scrambling to get in the courtroom. Nobody forgot anything, it looks like. It's not over yet. You're right. I should have knock on wood. Good morning.
No, and then Terry's in the hospital.
What?
No, she ran yesterday.
Just. What you say Saturday? I hope it's nothing. Bad. Almost. The awkward silence when everybody's ready to go and we can't do anything.
You know, secretary was early today.
Everybody was early today. I'm really impressed.
The real secretary today.
What happened here? Where did this come from? Got about 30 ticks of the second.
They get the clock from top. Right yesterday.
I was so frustrated, I did not look. I'm told it is, but that was sad. All right, you ready? At this time, we'll call this regular meeting of the Hill County Commissioners to order this Tuesday, March the 28th, 2023. Let the record reflect it is 8:30 a.m. We're in the Hill County courtroom. This meeting's been posted in accordance with Texas Government Code 551, better known as the Texas Open Meetings Act, and a quorum of commissioners is present and established with everybody being here this morning. Before any undertaking, let us first invoke the blessing of the Almighty. Pastor, if you lead us.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord God, we just thank you for the opportunity to live in this great nation. Father, we thank you for the men and women that serve in our armed forces. We just praise you for them, and we ask that you would just bless this meeting. You would guide and direct these men as they make decisions for the county. Father, that would better this community. Lord, we believe you for miracles to continue this day as they did in the old days, Father. We just want to serve you in a mighty way and let everything be honoring to you. We just give this meeting to you and all the business that's transacted, let it be glorifying to you, and just guide and direct these men as they make decisions for the future. We just believe you for miracles and just to be faithful to us as we're being faithful to you, Father. It's in your mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you're following the pledge to the American and Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Thank you, everybody, for being with us here this morning. We appreciate it. Commissioner Holcomb, what's going on in Hill County Precinct 1 this morning?
Well, we were trying to wrap up 1439, just about got it done from where we left off from precinct 4.
Okay.
And Mark did a good job of the first part of that. We're trying to continue that. And we're moving to 1120, which is north of 174.
Yes, sir.
And just trying to keep things rolling. Still got one arm tied behind my back with the driver out on medical leave and one on workers' comp. But Larry has been gracious enough to send some drivers my way and kind of help keep everything flowing. So we're moving.
Appreciate you guys working together. Larry, what's going on in Precinct 2 this morning?
Yeah, the same thing. We've been hauling rock, patching weak spots, and doing that, and then trying to rework what we did last summer when Texas Materials gave us about 5 miles of recycled asphalt. Didn't have time to rework it then, and now it's a headache trying to get it done. If we could have done it when we were putting it down, it'd been a lot better. But when we were hauling 40-60 loads a day, that we didn't have time to process it. Now we're trying to go back and redo that.
Are you guys gonna mill it and try to smooth it, or?
Yeah, some of them were bow magging it, and then we'll bow mag it, oil it, blade it, blade it back across and try to roll it and seal it off.
There you go. Good deal. Commissioner Hawkins, what's happening in Precinct 3?
About the same thing, we're all trying to get some weak spots, but we also got to drive out with that issue of need some rain.
Yes, sir.
We try to blade in rock roads right now, so we're working on some dirt roads we have. Get those cameras laid up, hopefully we do get some.
Good deal. Mr. Blake, what's happening in precinct 2?
We've been trying to cover some weak spots in some of the roads, and we started yesterday re-graveling the solar farm road out there, so
Okay.
we should have a check for that here in the next few days.
So that's good. They're taking care of that. They messed it up. They need to fix it.
Well, they wore it out.
They did wear it out. I saw it looked like talcum powder out there. Philip, what's going on in IT this week?
Well, we got an issue, right now, the sheriff's office on the camera servers, and we reached out to a vendor who's supposed to be here this morning, comes into that. But we've been working, finally got AT&T to call forward some of the phones for the acquisition office, they're rebuilding, so they started moving last week, so we've been working with them, helping them out on that. And,
I understand that the state has already moved the line for the tax office. They already made their connection over there too.
That's correct. They came out last Friday. AT&T did over at Covington
Yes.
to install the circuit that the tax office will use for their
Good deal.
for their vehicle registration stuff. And that has to go back to the state. So,
Oh, well, good.
so that got installed quite a bit earlier than what I anticipated. For sure.
And we've got some good news on this vehicle we've been waiting on.
Oh, yes. So did get word last week that the vehicle that we ordered last October is in, and working on getting the VIN number so we can get a fuel card and insurance set up on it. So it's supposed to be delivered to us within 7 to 14 days. Is what it's on.
Keep your fingers crossed. Chris, what's going on with radio administration this week?
Making progress on Encore, not much yet. We're still moving forward.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. All right. Tom, what you got in emergency management?
Radios,
Radios. Yes, sir.
pretty much what we've been working on. Kind of like feast and family, make a few steps forward, and a few steps back. I think we are starting to make some progress. Chris was able to have a great conversation yesterday, which any conversation, this vendor is a great conversation. So, I think that's 7. I think he understands better our reasoning for what we're doing.
Mhm.
He was a little confused as to why we changed from 1 dish to 2 dishes. And then once we explained our issue, what we were trying to fix, he understood that. I think I really do think that's gonna make things smoother, now why we're doing what we're doing. So they did ask us to move them down from 150 to 140. I think Chris, did he say that the lights at 150? And we're going from 2-foot dishes, 4-foot dishes. And he was worried that the dishes at just the same level as the lights
Oh,
might make the lights harder to see, and they were concerned about that. So that's not an issue. We've looked at the topology. I don't think there's going to be any issues for that. So
good deal.
we're just anxious to get moving forward.
I can imagine. So am I. Captain Mother's call, what's going on at the sheriff's office?
They're pretty busy taking calls.
I've heard a couple lately.
It was a busy weekend.
I can imagine.
We've taken in most of the cars we ordered last year. Still, I think we're still waiting on who had Chris come over and help us pick a few bugs on.
You can't have him back. All right. I stole him fair and square. So anyway,
But we appreciate him for helping out.
good deal. Anything going on with the constables? Constable Armstrong?
Just picking up on the factor of the tax.
It's starting to pick up some speed. Okay, good deal. Anything from Sahib or from April? Nothing doing? Okay. Wonderful, good deal, great program. In the back row, hiding back there is Miss Lindsay Kimbrell. She is a district director for our state representative, Miss Angela Orr. Anything to report from the state level this morning? Okay, well, that's probably good for us then. Ken, what's going on with ESD number 1?
We enjoy the weather, and we got hot enough yet to dry the ground out, and we're gonna get just enough rain to keep it steady.
Corn's rowing off, so hopefully it'll keep on raining for a little while. All right. Well, from this chair then, what we've got, so let's talk about some construction first and where we're headed at. We've moved into the AgriLife building, but we still have to go back and do some touch up. I've not signed off on that project yet. There's some final things that we'll have to deal with in the next couple of weeks. One of them was, it's settled just slightly. The structural engineers came back out. They don't think that's going to be any kind of issue. It just a crack in the sheetrock. So they're coming back out, doing some repair work to that, those kind of things. Over at Covington, we've been working with Encore trying to get the electricity. So, it's been kind of a chore, to be honest with you. They've been responsive at certain levels and not responsive at others, but we're heading in the right direction. The pole set, the conduits put in, the electricals put in, it's all been approved by Encore. Now they've got to come over and reset the transformers. So on that new pole, switch things over. Hopefully that's going to happen. Maybe this week. We are getting a maybe, but don't hold your breath on that one. We've been told maybe before. They're going to start in the back. As soon as that transformer goes up, they can start pouring that back section of concrete around the back of it. The interior work is coming along very quickly. I don't know if you've been over there lately. If you haven't, go see that millwork. Cabinet work is really good. It did a good job of it. The partition wall for phase 2 is already up, and they're starting to do some demo this week over in the AgriLife section. So that project continues to move forward. Now we have an April 1st deadline for them to turn over phase 1. That ain't going to happen, guys. There's no way. If Encore won't put the electricity in, they can't turn it over to us. They have some temporary electrical circuits, tailed over from the old boxes, but that's kind of the holdup. We also have a July 4th date for turning over phase 2. Again, I don't think that's a realistic date. I really think middle of August right now is what we're looking at. So I'll keep everybody informed as that goes along. On this end, it's already the end of March, and that means budget time. We're starting to look at things. I know it's early, but we got to start getting a handle on where we're at, what's going on. If you have requests for next year, you have big ticket items, you're following some bill you think the legislature may pass, it may have effect on your operations, let us know up front this year or as soon as you can, and that way we can start planning on it. The other thing is we made a promise last time to our employees that we would go through the payroll system and try to get a better system put in place than we currently have, how people progress in their career here. We have reached out to a couple of different organizations to do that. I'm going to hold a special meeting next Tuesday to talk about that. So that's kind of a quick synopsis of what we've got going on. I will say one thing. Anybody here for a hearing this morning on solar panels? We won't be holding those hearings today because they did not get put in the paper properly, and I will not hold a public hearing that wasn't properly noticed. That being said, if you have some commentary to make on solar panels for or against or neutral, please take the opportunity in open forum and address the court. If you come all the way to see us, we want you to be here. We want you to be heard. So with that being said, that's what I have this morning. So let's move right into open forum. Mr. Blaha? Yes, sir.
I've got a few comments, just for you to digest till the next meeting.
Yes, sir. It's
Concerning, the last 2
yes, that's what we're planning on right now. We haven't set that yet, but we will do it before the end of the day, set those hearings and notify you.
Okay, but like I said, this is just a few little things to digest, to think about. In the meantime, I'll try to keep it 3 minutes. I think I can.
I can let you go to 4 if you need it.
Thank you. The renewable energy project can be stopped by declining tax limitations. Renewable energy should pay their fair share of taxes, and while everybody else does too. We don't give oil and gas wells, so we don't give them tax limitations. Why should we be giving renewable energy companies limitations? Solar projects have been stopped in Bill County, Crawford, Elgin, Bandera, Comanche County, Erath County, and Abbott last December. Last I heard, they are reevaluating in Abbott what to do, but I have no further word. But as far as I know, no panels are going to be built. I know they discussed, mentioned Toby Butterfield, mentioned some of their infrastructure would be there. But those are some places that are well documented that have been stopped, and I believe that they can be stopped some more here in Hill County. Another thing to think about is the supply chains with the Chinese panels that get impounded by U.S. Customs there because they're made with slave labor from China. The Uyghurs are forced to make those things, I guess, and the other kind of prisoners. And there's one project here in Bell County, the 8-minute solar project. 8 minutes refers to the how long it takes for sunlight to reach the earth. So that's why they call it 8-minute solar project.
It's been disrupted because of this supply problem. I hate to see, well, I don't want to see it get started at all. But then again, they get started, they start driving their steel and laying their cables and whatnot, and then they go to put the panels up and there's no panels. So, and now they just have in Bell County at that 8-minute project, they just got a lot of steel sticking out of the ground. And somebody's got some egg on their face on account of that. Texas Constitution gives Article 5, Section 18B, Commissioner's business, the ability or authority to set up ordinances. I would like for you guys to look that up and check it out.
What was that reference again?
Article 5, 18B.
Yes, Commissioner's business. It refers, that you can set up business ordinances in case there's any kind of safety problems or like set up a chain of pornographic drive-in movies or something out in the country. That would fall under that. It'd be an ordinance, you could create an ordinance saying, no, you can't do that. I think also we need to wait for a Texas legislature to vote on legislation pertaining to renewable energy. I know there's a House Bill 5 in the middle. Governor Abbott does not currently support any bill that provides tax breaks or subsidies for renewable energy. Here in the Lakewood Tribune documented. This order can tell you something about that too, maybe perhaps. So that's another reason not to, if they get into trouble or something, financial problems. We heard it there again, we could just be stopped right there. I suggest that the Hill County Commissioners Court that you table any vote on renewable energy for the next 6 months because due to supply chain problems with the panels. Also, I think we need to. It would be prudent to wait and see what Texas legislation, legislature, when they finish in September, I believe it is, how they have what they've done with the legislation pertaining to solar energy or renewable energy, excuse me. As you know, everybody knows, it's these things are extremely popular in the area. They presented. I'm beginning to see it more and more mentioned in the report about how unpopular it is. I know someone on that Hill County, we even brought it up there to the, I think it's the Texas Farm Bureau, their concerns. So it's a real concern. People just do not like it. It's all about the dollar, really. The tax revenue, it's about what the landowners think they can get. But it's by their neighbors, and by and large, it's very unpopular. So I think we need to look at that and here again, just to give us 6 months table and then vote in September or October or whatever. Solar facilities at a utility level, like NG down there on the Hill County Third Road, everyone 10 South.
Bless you.
Thank you. They do devalue property. I've spoken to some people in the county appraisal district who are concerned about it, and realtors are concerned also about them having an impact on the value of the property. I do know that some people in the Penelope area have been told that you may want to maybe call this hearsay, but I have been told that there are some people that they're trying to get out of there before they begin. They've got their property on the market before the panel project starts because they're concerned about what these things will do. So I appreciate your time.
I hope you'll consider it, what I said. And I do believe that these things, if these projects are coming as they say they are, told they are, they need to pay their full taxes and not be giving any kind of limitations. And I believe that if they're not getting limitations, they will not, they'll turn away. Toby Butterfield of the Primary Energy, he's told me that if they don't get their limitations, they're probably going to. He told me that. And I believe you may have some information from someone, Mr. Norris.
Oh, yeah, Jeff.
He's much kind of parallel what he said in some of that. So if they don't get their limitations, more likely they will leave because they operate on such a thin margin. They're just operating on corporate welfare. They can't come to a place on their own merits and just build their project. Like I said, maybe Buckley's or somebody like that. They just come there. They've got to have their limitations. They've got to have their tax subsidies from the United States, from the taxpayers. And that's how they operate. I appreciate your time.
Mr. Blah, thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. Anybody else here for open forum this morning? Richard, I'm gonna call you. You're the only guy here I hadn't talked to yet. So at this point.
Well, I enjoyed the bus ride.
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad you came with us.
Yeah, I just wanted to get some information. And mainly to see Mr. Lake is.
Oh, okay.
Just to find out exactly where they're going, which roads they're going on as far as the solar energy project.
So there's 3 right now that I know that have contacted us. And so I got to be careful because we're an open forum and I can't have an open discussion. I can correct things of factual dispute. If you will hang around afterwards, and Mr. Blah, I'll make you the same offer. I'll show you what we've got in there is who's contacted us and where they are in the county. I'm looking at 1 down southeast of Hubbard, 1 between Abbott and Penelope, and 1 it's on the line of the Blum and the Covington ISD school districts. Yeah, it's information we're happy to share with you.
Okay.
That Richard's interested in the one by his house.
Which one is that?
The one close.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've got some information on that too. We can get to you. Okay, good deal. Anybody else for anything? Yes, sir, please.
So a few months ago, or 7 months ago, the commissioner report was very instrumental in allowing us to split subdivide our property there and have it sell off part of the property to ESD2 and
Familiar.
to help the Salt Lake Church to separate off and do some upgrades and remodels there. So I just want to thank you guys for allowing us to subdivide that property and to move forward with ESD being our neighbor and the church being able to remodel and
That's great.
money. Anyway, so thank you guys very much.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. So, all right, anybody else for open forum this morning? Going once, going twice, gonna move along. All right, first item today is our consent agenda. We have action on minutes, action on invoices, action on payroll, action on monthly report, revenue and disbursement, observe and report elected official training certificates. You would have got an email and an update last night as well for 2 other invoices that came in late, about 8 o'clock. They need to be paid. So for the treasurer's office, Ms. Mangum, Julie, I call her Julie, forgive me. She sent those emails. I have them in my packet. I've reviewed them, no issues. If there is no discussion on this, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as is put forward in our packets. Any discussion at all? Going once, going twice. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. I'm going to sign these orders and get them moving around while we're doing this. I think this, and it's while we're on the subject, this monthly report of revenue and disbursement, I advise all elected officials to see a copy of this to let you know where our funding is actually coming from. You know, about 60% is ad valorem, maybe actually a little better, 63-64% is ad valorem, and the rest of it breaks down to fines and fees. But it's pretty eye-opening in where our resources come from and in what burden we put on the taxpayers. So, all right, moving along to court orders then, is number 1. You're going to need that. There you go. is approval of employee wage status changes. And this date, we have wage and status changes for the following people. We have Katara Bagby, got their intermediate telecommunicator certification. Congratulations. We have Julie Mangum in the treasurer's office. We have Jennifer Chavez and the adult probation also Reagan McCurley has been there, is moving up. Same thing with Christina Marmino and Julia Jones. I imagine there should be one more here. Pamela Wardrobe as well. And then Carrie Price in the all those in the adult probation office. Miss Jamie Miller as well. You guys remember the adult probation is not really the county, but we're still their fiscal agent, and they operate on a different fiscal year than us. They operate on the state's fiscal year, not ours. So we have Miss Sherry Schoaf with adult probation, and we have the folks that have moved on to greener pastures. We have Amanda Herson of the sheriff's office, not going to come back. Johnny Fagley is moved on. Then we have Harley Finn, and the sheriff's office has also moved on. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the wage and status changes for the state. Second, any discussion on any of the aforementioned? Hearing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion shall carry. Then we have number 2 today, which is discuss and approve budget amendments. So our budget amendments, what we're doing here is we're going to add some additional amounts, and these are, I guess, previously certified funds that had not been budgeted from last quarter. Got it. Okay. So I can read all this and probably bore you to death, but the first page basically allocating across non-departmental capital outlay from these amounts, and that'll be for Daily Well radios, for the Caldwell Country IT, which was encumbered from last year's budget. Asbel Electronics, that was the district court sound system, which I believe the TAC is giving us some reimbursement for that. Okay, good deal. And then we have, again, unbudgeted funds and reserve going to capital, and we're putting unbudgeted funds and reserve into the transfer to jury. That is budget amendment number 1. Budget amendment number 2 is a PO from TDJC. We're adding $975 into that line. And then General Road and Bridge appraisals. We've had to add money into it, $5,553. You know, we have to estimate what the appraisal is going to cost when we write our budget. And so we normally find out afterwards. Normally we're closer than this, but we were a little off this last year. Construction material, Road and Bridge 1, unbudgeted funds that were in reserve that we certified previously last time. That's going into your construction materials, $89,000. Road and Bridge 2, unbudgeted funds in reserve of $36,000 going into capital outlay. Road and Bridge 4, unbudgeted funds in reserve that we certified previous meeting, $35,000 is going into repairs. And medical, we have unbudgeted funds in reserve that we're budgeting into. That's $42,000. It's going to go into inmate healthcare. That's going to cover part of the cost of the new healthcare company that's also bringing the additional mental health. They're making headway on that. April's kept me updated on a daily basis. I think we finally have the beginnings of a plan to get some people in that jail that are incompetent to stand trial to start figuring out how to help them regain competency. I think I've beat this horse to death with you guys over the years, but right now, if you have a criminal defendant that's declared incompetent to stand trial, to get him into either Vernon State Hospital or Austin State Hospital, Vernon State's like 430 days the last time I hold, and Austin State's not far behind that. So you have an individual that is not competent sitting in our jail, waiting on the state to do their job. So we're trying to do some things, and it's going to cause expenditures at our level. We're trying to do some things to get those people competent to get them out of the jail. A, it's a question of their civil rights, but B, it makes it a miserable working environment for our jailers and our sheriff's department, having people in there that literally don't know who they are, why they are, what's going on. It's a tough situation. So county clerk contract services. Look at you, Daddy Warbucks. Going to co-file imaging plats. Millennium Products, that's going to be the state investigative capital outlay fund that was previously encumbered from last year's budget. All these encumbrances, these are things we've previously ordered, and we've been sitting patiently twiddling our thumbs for them to show up. So supply chain issues are wearing us out. And then FM lateral, and 2, you've got capital outlay. We're adding 27,000, and we're subtracting 27,000 from construction materials. So those are the budget amendments as presented this morning. Motion and second. Is there any discussion of these budget amendments? I think we talked about them pretty thoroughly last time, but if somebody got questions, I'm happy to answer them. No? All right, I'll ask the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion shall carry. I'm gonna take just a moment. Each one of these we sign individually. So we're gonna put some ink on paper here as we move through things. This keeps the county clerk from hunting me down later and threatening me with bodily harm. You heard that, Justin, right? Watch out for me. Okay. All right. Now, moving along, we have, okay, so we've got some public hearings we're not going to have today on a couple of deals. And let's just make our mea culpa. There's miscommunications. We have some new folks. And I'm not blaming any new people. There's just some different ways we've done things in the past, and we need to do better than we did. So we did not get our hearings posted in the newspaper for County Road 2210. That's the speed limit sign. We did not get the hearing posted in the newspaper for County Road 2207 for the stop sign. So neither one of those hearings can we hold because they're not properly posted. They're posted on the roads. So what I'm going to ask that we do is repost those, re-put the signs out, and make sure we get these in the paper. David, if I hold those hearings the last meeting in April, is that enough time, 20-day mark? 28th today.
If they still stay up,
Oh, man, your negativity's killing me over here, man.
put them up on the Thursday and they're gone on Friday morning.
I'm going to say that is a new thing. We've had plenty of signs stolen, but I never remember somebody stealing a posting for a notice of a meeting.
Sure did.
Okay, so first meeting in May, let's set that up for the first meeting in May. Does anybody have any objection to that? So what I will ask is under item number 5, that I will make a motion that we cause a notice to be posted of a hearing regarding posting a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit on Hill County Road 2210, and that hearing be held on the 9th day of May 2023. That is my motion. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? So here's what's going to happen going forward. I'm personally going to interject myself into this notice business because I don't like coming in here and wasting anybody's time. I need the commissioner and whose precinct these things go in to come in and sign off on the notice. We will draft the notice. We will get it to the newspaper. That'll streamline this process so we don't have 3 people involved. But I still am not going to send those notices out until the commissioner comes by or by email personally tells me, yes, I'm good with this notice and it's corrected. So I think we were spoiled. Susan Swilling just kind of automatically did it. It's not a stab at you, Saheeb. You're doing great. But you know, some people took on a lot of jobs over the years that you just, you know, you didn't know what all they did. It's not really part of the job description. So that's on us. We're going to straighten that out and move that forward.
Didn't know all the good stuff that went with it.
I should have made the commissioner do it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you're county clerk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's sitting right next to you. You go ahead and tell her that. All right, so that's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, any abstention, motion carries. Then under item number 8, which is discussion or action to post a stop sign at the intersection of Hill County Road 2207 and 2210. Again, it's my motion that we post notice at that intersection of a hearing to be held on the 9th day of May 2023 regarding posting a stop sign at that intersection of Hill County Road 2207 and 2210. Okay. Any further discussion? And for any of you guys watching along at home, paying attention, why are we talking about individual stop signs? Because the state of Texas, we're a political subdivision. We can only do those things that are specifically articulated in a codification of code, an attorney general's opinion, or some case law. We can't just go out and do things like a city can. We have to have a specific authority to do it. So in order to post a stop sign, a speed limit sign, we can't make a blanket order for the whole county. We have to do every single individual road, every single individual traffic control device, and hold a separate public hearing for it. So, all right, thought I'd get that off my chest. All right, in which case I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. Number 9, discussion and action on contract between Hill County and the city of Hillsborough for radio service. Mr. Jackson, you got the floor. What we're doing here, as we talked about, we're truly making a county radio system. And these are the agreements we're putting together for folks that want to participate in that. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so this is the one that we discussed a couple months ago. We got the general verbiage done. Hillsborough was the first one to jump on it. So this is the full user agreement between, or contract between the county and the city. So they're gonna use our radio system. They're gonna pay a fee for each radio that they have in our system. And then that's how it's all gonna work. I believe with them at their current radios, I believe it was like 14,600, something like that, of what the county will get each year. Now granted, they have more radios, they're just not in service yet, so they don't get charged for those. And none of this will go into effect until January.
And you guys know how expensive this project has been. If it hadn't been for federal grant dollars, we wouldn't have got this done. When you do something expensive, then maintenance is expensive as well. So our upkeep on this, especially with the increased number of tower sites and things we've got coming down the pipe, we've got to start putting together a way to fund that maintenance and not just off the, a regular budget. So as part of this, everybody around us that uses a 300 or 800 megahertz trunk system has radio agreements. We've seen Tarrant counties, we've seen Waco's, and I think we're very reasonably priced for what we're offering.
We're the cheapest.
We're the cheapest,
By
yes,
far.
by far. Our goal is to improve public safety in the county, so we can't make it cost prohibitive for the entities to join. At the same time, we do have to recover some of the funds that we're putting in this in order to keep it up and running. Yes, sir.
Judge, I think one thing that's noted though, we were at the radio meeting in Clinton County a couple of weeks ago. And it was brought up in that meeting by all the users that it should be just covering costs. It should not be making money.
Correct.
So I want to justify the reason why we're not expensive. We're not trying to make money. We're just trying to cover the cost. And I believe we're going to see the Clinton County drop their fees because,
Good.
I mean, but they should.
Well, I mean, just
They
to
got more users. So with more users, they don't need always paying as much money. That is what.
no doubt, and 14,000 sounds like a lot of money, but why don't you tell the public what an Aviat dish costs?
For one,
For one, not both ends of the link, one end.
about $8,000.
Yeah. Lightning strike, windstorm, something happens, act of God, whatever you want to call it, 8,000 for a single dish. I mean, it's expensive, but it gives our first responders abilities they've never had before, and it gives us the ability to provide help. So. Anyway,
And they're very clear when you hear them.
yes,
The
sir.
other radios, you have to really listen. This one you don't have to.
I've been amazed at the clarity of it, the functionality of the system. I was sitting in Kyle Field last fall at a football game, and we had the mobile app on my phone for that radio, and just clear as a bell. It's amazing to me.
There's an abundance of other features with this radio system that our previous VHF didn't have. That improves officer safety, everything from being able to identify now when someone keys up. If I were to keep in this courtroom right now, dispatch would see exactly who it was that keyed up and knew it was me that keyed up. Same thing if I press my panic button.
I was going to ask you what happens when you press the little red button.
They will see exactly who, so they'll say my radio ID number, and they'll know exactly who to call at that point, or if I was checked out somewhere, where to send the help to.
I was going to say, it'll send you the location, because I think the way Chris explained it to me, if you press the red button, you're going to have a whole lot of new friends with guns and badges real quick. So.
Well, so that's radio dependent. I mean, so that it's not turned on any radio, but I mean, these radios have a lot of technology. So for like firefighters, they have on their jackets the device is called pass. So whenever they stop moving, the alarm goes off. Well, they're putting that technology in radios now.
Oh, wow.
So if you enable that feature and the radio falls down, if it stays like that for a predetermined amount of time, it will automatically activate the emergency button on the radio and open up the microphone so dispatch can hear what's going on.
Wow.
And set off the alarm on the radio.
Technology is amazing.
So I mean, the technology that's in the radios is ever growing and improving.
Okay, good deal.
But so
I have it on the nightstand next to my bed because we broke up in the middle of the night. And I had to explain to all my children, the red button's a no-no button. Don't touch that.
Wonder what you did in jail. I'm thinking that.
Oh, talk about a money saving deal. Listen to this.
So, in the jail, they had a 2 years ago, they were on UHF and they were having issues because all the cheap radios that they had were dying and they didn't make parts for them anymore, and we'd have to buy a whole new system, blah, 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 so they're changing to VHF. Well, VHF doesn't penetrate through the concrete as well as the UHF did, and they were on the old Kenwoods that Patrol was using, and jailers break things. I mean, it's concrete, things break. Anyways, so they wanted to go to the 800 system. Well, the 800 system, there was dead spots in the jail. I mean, it's concrete and caps in the metal building. It's expected to have some issues, but so the sheriff's office already had some of the Sonam. I mean, they're like bricks. They literally.
Oh, telephones.
Yeah, you can take them and throw them at the concrete wall. They land on the ground. They're still working just fine. They had some already, but you can get them online. I think it was like $280 a piece.
Versus what does a radio cost?
Versus the cheapest radio, handheld radio is around $3,500 $3,000. But we can put these Sonam phones that are, I'm not going to say indestructible, but a lot tougher than the radios they were using. Put these Sonam phones on what's called Beyond, which is what the county already has purchased. So basically, we got the jail on the 800 system on the county's. Phillips worked with them on getting it. Private Wi-Fi in the jail. So they're working from a cell phone that has push talk buttons on it. And instead of paying around $3,500 a radio and buying 15 of them, we bought 15 of these. Well, they will over the next couple of months buy 15 of these phones for about $286.
Good deal.
And achieve the same goal.
Good. More ruggedized, better communication. Wonderful.
And it was crazy. I mean, it's a cell phone, but the Sonams, they even have a port on the side for like a shoulder mic.
Really?
So it's literally like they take the phone, they put it in their pocket, and they have a shoulder mic. They don't have to take the phone out and use it or anything like that. It's just like a radio.
Interesting.
Is it wireless? Wireless?
As far as the microphone?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know if they have a wireless. They probably have a Bluetooth one, but no, it hasn't to the phone.
Interesting. Gentlemen, any other questions for Mr. Jackson?
They agree with you.
This is the
Different.
this is Hillsborough, not
Okay.
this is so this, remember we went over the template in February.
Yeah.
So this is that what was sent to Hillsborough. They didn't have any changes made to it.
Okay, good deal.
And just so you know, Whitney is doing the same thing. It's, I guess, gonna go through their city council
Okay,
next city council they have, but they've already asked for the contract as well.
good deal. Good deal. All right, gentlemen, any other questions for Mr. Jackson? If not, I entertain a motion. A motion in a second. Yes, sir, go ahead.
This is the original.
Well, I'm gonna hand that. As soon as I sign it, I'll hand it to her.
Yeah.
And then I have no more. Yeah, okay. So we have a motion and a second to approve a contract between Hill County and the city of Hillsborough for radio services. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, make sure I signed all the places it needs to be signed. Yep. Here's the original countersigned contract. I bet we'll have to make a copy and send it back to Hillsborough too. All right, number 10, everybody's favorite time of year is discuss under action on bids for county supplies, off-site and on-site fuel, oil, road materials, corrugated steel pipe, petroleum supplies, and emulsions, treated lumber, all types of road-based contracts for crushing services, concrete corrugated bridges, box culvert construction, contracts for hauling, scrap metal and bids and other supplies and services to be effective April 1st, 2023. As everybody is aware here, the Texas Local Government Code says what we can procure and what we can't, and more importantly, put some rules in place, which is good, and we follow those rules. That being said, anything that we think we're going to spend more than $50,000 cumulatively on, we have to go out for bid if it's not already pre-bid by the state. So today, we're going to take a few moments and go through this lovely packet. So first and foremost, we had a supplier that did not get in a timely bid, and it's going to affect precinct 2 and 3 on fuel and fuel alone. The reason it affects them because no one else bid for precinct 2 and 3. And I think we're going to need fuel at some point. So as we go through this, both on-site and off-site, I'm going to recommend that 2 and 3 reject, just 2 and 3, not you guys, because Scott Oil and Itasca Co-op bid, and so did Fleet Corps. But I recommend that you reject and go back out for bids. What'll have to happen at that time is we'll have to repost. It'll go back out. We'll set a new deadline, but it'll be only for fuel for precinct 2 and precinct 3. I know you're going to buy more than $50,000 worth of fuel this year. So we have to have a bid, but since there was no bid received that was responsive to 2 and 3, I don't see another way to do this other than to go back out. So, all right. So the first order of business then is precinct number 1. Commissioner Holcomb, you have a bid from Scott Oil for offsite services. Yes, you do. And for those times that you're out of county, the Fleet Corps. And I'm guessing you're going to make a motion to accept those?
I am gonna make a motion to accept those.
Good. We have a motion. Is there a second? All right. Motion second to accept Fleet Corps and Scott Oil Company for offsite fuel. I got to get the terminology right. I ask the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Then Commissioner Lake on precinct 4, we have Itasca Co-op for your offsite fuel and for your out-of-county fuel, the Fleet Corps. Make a motion to accept those 2 bids for those 2 things. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Gentlemen, on 2 and 3, we just need to go out for bid for on-site. You can still accept the Fleet Corps for your out-of-county, but for on-site, you don't have anybody that was responsive to our request for bids. So when I say I'm going to make a motion that we reject any and all bids for on-site fuel for county precinct 2 and county precinct
I
3.
need an offsite too.
Well,
I've got one vehicle with gas that I need to go to fuel mart to pick up gas.
okay, we got a bid from Fleet Corps for that, but if you need to go to Fuel Mart for that,
Fuel mart, fine.
you guys have the Fuel Man cards already, correct? You've been using those?
Yeah.
So, okay. Sure. You guys are really working me like a mule today. Man, I'll tell you what. Something else around this place.
We do not keep any gas on them.
I don't blame you. I mean, as little as you use, why do it? Okay, so we have a motion and a second to reject all bids for on-site fuel for Hill County Precinct 2 and Hill County Precinct 3, and to go back out for bid. Go back out for bid. I think we're going to have these things due the first. It's 20 days.
Probably be May the 9th.
I think because it's only 20 days or actually 2 consecutive weeks, we can get it in the paper and get this back before us on the 25th. That's our last meeting in April. I would recommend we do that we have bids due by 3 o'clock on April the 20th, 3 p.m. April 20th, with a bid opening at 3:15 p.m. In the county judge's office on that same date. And then we can,
April what?
April 20th bids will be due at 3 p.m. They'll open bids at 3:15, and then we'll take action on the 25th. That is my very detailed motion. Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, then you guys need to accept the bid for the fuel man. So for Hill County Precinct 2, do you still want to use the fuel card?
Fuel mart, yes.
Is that a motion?
I make a motion using
Thank you.
the fuel card.
Motion is second.
Fuel mart.
For you guys following along at home, sorry it's so tedious, but we have to be very exacting in how we do this. Okay, we have motion is
Just for
second.
him?
Yeah, just for him, just for precinct 2, because somebody at a later date will ask, what did they do? So separating them out, make sure the record's clean. All right,
Fuel.
Fleet Corps. We used to call them Fuel Man, but they're actually the name of the business is Fleet Corps. And that's those little cards they give you that you can go to other gas stations. All in this motion, there was a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, any abstention, motion carries. Number 3, precinct 3. Okay, so we're gonna motion for Fleet Corps for Hill County Precinct 3. We have a second to that. We'll let her catch up for a second so she doesn't stab me with that pencil.
Okay.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, gentlemen, that was fuel, and that's always the worst one. Let's go ahead and move along. So we had, let me put these aside. I'm going to set these right down here. We had 4 different people bid for asphalt emulsions. So you've got Cleveland Asphalt, Vulcan Construction, Aragon Asphalt, and P2 Emulsions. I think that we need to clean up our specifications on what we're asking for in these things. Because some of this, I mean, we're very specific in our ask. So maybe that's not the right way to say it. It's the response that's not overly. So years ago, the only person we had was P2, then Cleveland started showing up. But this is some stuff that I'll be frank with you. I don't know what you guys need and what you don't need. So when we go to start looking at who we're going to do business with, now it's road construction materials. So my recommendation is you accept any and all bids based on quantity, quality, and availability. So what I'm getting back here, I've got this one in front of me right now. This is Cleveland, right? Clayton Moore. Yeah, Cleveland. So Cleveland bids on everything basically, with the exception of HFRS2 and HSRS2P. They've got prime oil, RC250's surface treatment, SS1 prime oil and dust, AE-P prime oil for subgrade. I mean, they have a lot. They've got the hot, they don't do hot mix here, but they do prime asphalt emulsions. So the next bid, it'll have in between, it might have the hot asphalt, but it won't have the prime oils. So as we're allowed to take any and all bids based on quantity, quality, availability for road construction materials, that's my advice to this court. Okay, I guess I made a motion then. Guys, come on.
Sounds like one.
Wow. Okay, all right. So
You're not gonna have to back up your paycheck this week.
no kidding. Yeah, earn my keep around here. All right, so we have a motion and a second to accept any and all bids based on quantity, quality, and availability for asphalt and emulsions. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. Next is corrugated steel pipes and culverts, and we have a pleasant surprise this year. We have 2 people that bid on it. Again, it's road construction material. We can take any and all as road construction material based on quantity, quality, availability. But I do want to point out, we've had Wilson Culverts. There used to be 2 years ago, and then Wilson bought their competitor. And now there's a group called Ferguson Waterworks. Looking at their product, I think these are the plastic culverts. And maybe plastic isn't the right word, but they're not ferrous, not metal. So anyway. I'm letting one of y'all guys make a motion while I drink some coffee.
Second.
And that motion is accepted upon quantity, quality, and availability. All right, wonderful. So we have a motion and a second to accept the bids from Ferguson Waterworks and Wilson Culverts based on quantity, quality, and availability for corrugated steel pipes and culverts. That's a lot. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We also had a lot better reply to our road-based material solicitation this time. It had Victory Companies LLC, Arnold Crush Stone, Green Dream International, Radler Rock, and Connors Construction. And those are the 5 bids. I think looking back last year, we only had 4. So I'm not familiar with Green Dream. I don't know. I've got their bid in front of me. Well, that's a good question. Bear with me. Here we go. Put these back down here. Let's talk about that real quick.
Isn't it a bid that Connor has somewhere else?
I think so. I mean, that's so we've got Victory.
Well, they have
Correct.
another bid side somewhere.
No, this is the one that says they're 11. This company is based out of Houston, but they're claiming they've got a pit on 1104. And I don't know anything down 1104 loop, right? I don't know anything down there. Now I haven't been down there this week, so no telling what's happening. But what they're saying is, but hold on a second. Again, this is based on quantity, quality, and availability. I don't think this is the first place you're going to go to because type 1 grade A base is 963.
Yeah,
So it's a little rich.
A little rich.
A little rich. So, but anyway, if there was nothing else available, you would have that option if you accept all these bids.
Motion to accept.
Motion is second to accept all road-based materials bids specifically from Victory Companies LLC, Arnold Crush Stone, Green Dream International, Rattler Rock, and Connors Construction based on quantity, quality, and availability. Am I correct?
Correct.
Wonderful. All right. So those are the bids for road base. I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion shall carry. All right, coming down to the next one. So we have hauling, and this is by precinct again, like fuel. And obviously it differs because each precinct's a little closer, a little further from the pit. We have a Twisted Nail Broker Services, and then Yannick and Witten are the only two parties that entered a bid this year for hauling. Twisted Nail Broker Services. Well, you don't know, here, I'll get both of them out. There we go. So,
Who is Twisted Nail?
well, so I hadn't heard them before this bid came in. These folks are based out of Waco, Pioneer Parkway in Waco, Texas. I don't know.
Okay.
They're loaded one-way miles, and this is for precinct 1, 0 to 10 miles, $9 loaded mile. 11 to 12, $11, or 11 to 20, I'm sorry, miles, $11 loaded mile, 13 for 21 to 30 category and up from there. And it seems to be that all four precincts, they bid the exact same price, loaded miles cost. So that's Twisted Nail out of Waco. And then the other one again is Yannick and Witten, who's previously bid and we've done business with. And his are substantially lower. For example, his 0 to 10 miles is $5.25 loaded mile versus $9 loaded mile from Twisted Nail. And it is the same. He's like Twisted Nail goes up $2 for 11 to 20. Mr. Witten goes up 25 cents for that next set of mileage. So I'm going to tell you that for all four precincts, it's the same price tag. And so if you're looking at hauling bids, accepting one, which I think everybody probably should, Yannick Witten's a little better. So precinct 1, what do you want to do for hauling?
Well, I'd make a motion to accept both of them.
We can't. So it's not road.
Just one?
We can only accept one. So the difference between road construction materials, culverts, asphalt, road base, there's standing Attorney General's opinions and case law that says we can accept all those bids based on quantity, quality, and availability. However, this is not road construction materials. As much as we'd like to argue, it's instrumental in having it to have a road. We have to take the lowest and best bid.
I make a motion to accept Yannick and Witten.
Okay, Carroll County Precinct 1 for hauling accepts the bid from Yannick and Witten. Is there a second to that motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, any abstention, motion carries. Mr. Crumpton,
I reject.
you
We
reject.
do most of our hauling.
Okay, so you don't want any hauling bids?
No, sir.
All right, so precinct 2 rejects all bids. Precinct 3.
Does that have to be a motion? Or
I
just-
think so. Reject the bid because you're not going back out. Okay. You don't want to have it just in case of emergency?
No, I think you should act on
Okay, in which case there's a motion to reject any and all bids for precinct 2 and a second from precinct 1. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Yes, sir.
it. I make a motion. Precinct 3 goes to Yannick and Witten.
Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second, precinct 3 to accept the bid from Yannick and Witten for hauling. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And precinct number 4.
I'm making a motion to Yannick and Witten.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? All right, motion and a second to accept the hauling bid for Hill County Precinct 4 from Yannick and Witten Construction. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. Thanks. All right, next, we move on to bridges. And as you can imagine, there's not a lot of folks in the bridge business. So the county got one bridge, and I recommend that the Commissioners Court accept that bridge as Mr. Toby Yoder out of Paris, Texas. Okay. Motion and a second to accept the only bid we got for bridges. And you can see in Mr. Yoder's bid packet, price of things getting crazy. It's getting expensive.
Yeah, they've gone up.
I mean, you think about it, bridge, Clearspring, a 20 by 24 bridge, now 70,000. Remember, we used to pay 35 for those things. It's just, now again, too, he's kind of changed some of his construction up where he's done a lot more nowadays. He drives piles and he's got some new ideas on head walls so they won't wash.
It's a lot better to do.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a motion and a second to accept the bid from Yoder Construction, Yoder Bridge, forgive me, for the response to our request for bids for bridge construction in Hill County. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? And gentlemen, that accepts that for now. We will go back out for bid. We'll get a bid notice together since we're going to interject ourselves into the notice process.
Monarch, that I guess Pea Gravel front did not get a bid in. I don't know why, but I think in the last couple of years, I haven't bought anything over $50,000. It's been running about 30,000,
Okay,
35,000.
but if it's not going to exceed $50,000, it's not technically required to bid. Would I prefer they sent one in the future? Yeah, I would. And next year, we'll make sure we reach out to Monarch Materials. And I know we reached out to a lot of people this year. As you can see, some of these bids that folks we've never heard from before.
Yeah,
But
because they were real good about when they first came in here and they made a donation to fix that road and chip seal it down for the people on that. And they've been pretty good with us.
okay, good deal. All right, so that takes care of that. All right, number 11, 12, and 13 are the same issue, but we're going to take them one at a time. And all three of these are setting hearings regarding the creation of reinvestment zone pursuant to subchapter C 312 of the Texas Property Tax Code. The first one is for Grand Solar 10. Now, I'm looking at this calendar and I proposed the last date in April, but I'm not certain we can pull this off then. Looking at how the calendar is going to fall out, I'm proposing now that we probably move it to that first meeting in May, the 9th. That gives more time for notice to the community. I want everybody that wants to have a say on this to be heard. So I would rather take an extra 2 weeks to push this out to the 9th and advertise it properly. Your guys' thoughts on that?
Agree.
Okay. And this is something that affects our whole community and people need to be heard. So, all right. So I would make a motion that during our regular commissioners court on May the 9th, 2023, that we hold a hearing regarding the reinvestment zone pursuant to subchapter C, chapter 312 of the Texas Property Tax Code for Grand Solar 10 LLC. That is, all right, second, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, any abstentions? Number 12, discussion and action on setting a hearing regarding the creation of a reinvestment zone pursuant to subchapter C 312 of the Texas Property Tax Code for Ash Creek Solar LLC. Again, I think same terms. I don't want to confuse the public and hold different ones on different dates. I'd rather hold all three of these hearings at the same day. I know it'll make for a long court day, but I'd rather, again, out of transparency, nobody can say, well, we moved this one to this date or that date. We can be heard all at one time. That's motion. All right, motion and a second to set a hearing regarding the creation of a reinvestment zone pursuant to subchapter C, chapter 312 of the Texas Property Tax Code for Ash Creek Solar LLC. And we've got with the attorney and got the corrected forms. So we're going to have those run in the paper starting hopefully next week. Yeah, I finally got the notices.
Scotty and I are fishing today.
Oh, no, no, sir.
Where I'm coming with you.
No, you're gonna have.
I'm going to have you round up some folks in the night. Bring everybody handcuffs, and I'm okay with taser usage. I'm pretty liberal with my taser usage. Commissioners, you got to tase them to get them here. You go ahead. All right.
Keep the waters below 20,000.
That's no fun. Yeah. All right. So I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion carries. Number 13, that's the last one of these. Discussion and or action on setting a hearing regarding the creation of a reinvestment zone pursuant to subchapter C 312 of the Texas Property Tax Code for Midpoint Solar LLC. I believe Midpoint's the one that's up here on the Blum and Covington school district. I think so.
McPherson.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. I just read the action item, man. Yeah. Seems like Scotty made a motion and Lake seconded it. That's great. All right, so we have a motion and a second to setting a hearing regarding the creation of reinvestment zone pursuant to subchapter C 312 of the Texas Property Tax Code for Midpoint Solar LLC to be held on the 9th day of May during a regular meeting of the Hill County Commissioners Court. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. Number 14, discussion action on lease agreement between Hill County and Waco Housing Authority Section 8 for the county to lease from Waco Housing Authority a portion of 200 East Franklin, 210 East Franklin in Hillsborough, Texas. So this is pursuant to our sale of Franklin Street. Again, when we started our construction projects, we knew the ultimate goal was to sell Franklin. That moved a little quicker than we thought. So with some of the delays we've had, I don't feel comfortable not entering into a lease agreement. We would sell the building back, sell the building to Waco Housing Authority, lease back certain portions of it for a period not to exceed 6 months, which I think will be plenty of time at this point. And we originally had a agreement to lease $4,000. We have gone back and our auditor, Mr. Steve Rowe, has been good enough to compile the bills for the last couple of years into a spreadsheet. We spend a little over $15,000 a year in utilities, gas, water, and electric. So obviously, we were working on the utility setup with Waco Housing Authority, and it's been proposed that we accept that we go to $5,000 a month. That's all utilities included. So we had a base rent of $4,000, and then we go to $5,000 a month, and that includes utilities. That's the whole 9 yards.
Second.
Okay, everybody's good with that?
I would imagine the auditor and treasurer are particularly good with it since we only write one check a month.
Oh, yeah, the accounting will be so much easier on that. Okay, so what I'm asking for here then is for you guys to give me, the county judge, the authority to enter into this lease agreement between the Waco Housing Authority, Section 8, and the county for the term lease back 2 portions of the building, 200 East Franklin, 210 East Franklin, for a term of 6 months at a monthly rate of $5,000 per month.
Beginning April.
Beginning April 1st? Okay, fair enough. But I mean, if we hadn't sold it by then,
Wow, we should get it closed.
that'd be nice if we could. What do you think the odds are? That's a safe bet. That's a safe layup. So,
Is it 5,000?
yes, ma'am, 5,000. And that's utilities included. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. And last but not least is number 15, discuss and or action on a resolution of the City Council of the City of Whitney, Texas, approving an interlocal agreement with Hill County, Texas for the provision of subdivision regulation in the city's ETJ. Gentlemen, I think everybody's aware a city has city limits, and then a home rule city like Hillsborough has what's called an extraterritorial jurisdiction, ETJ, up to a mile outside of the city limits. Again, we're limited to what we can do by law. Normally, we would be responsible for subdivisions unless the city wants to enter into an interlocal agreement with us, and they take over the responsibility for subdivision regulation in the ETJ. We've done that years ago with Hillsborough. This is almost a word for word copy of that the nice folks at Whitney have forwarded us. Their city council has signed off on this, and I have 2 copies here, countersigned. Mayor Barker signed it. So what they're asking is that from now on, they have the right and they have the ability to regulate subdivision in their extraterritorial jurisdiction, which I believe is a half mile in their general law city. So I have no problem with that. That takes some work off of our plate. And quite frankly, it keeps good relations with the city to allow them to tackle those things that are pretty close to their home.
Well, it would depend on where they are and what the regulations are for me.
Oh, well, tell me a story.
Well, we've got drainage issues, we've got road issues. You know, some of my roads are in the city limits and certainly within the ETJ.
We need to talk about that because when there's roads you've got in the city limits, we don't want to be maintaining those.
Well, within the ETJ is what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. That is a consideration. Again, we still have our prescriptive easement, I would think, on any road that is a county road, anything to subdivision. And I can't be 100% accurate on this because I hadn't looked at every subdivision plat this week. You know, those are going to be platted and laid out to what's the actual width
So
of the
the
road is.
flats don't have to come before the commissioner's court?
No, sir. What would happen is they would have their rules and which follow, you know, we follow the state rules basically with some minor prohibitions that we put in there that we're allowed to. Theirs would also follow the state rules laid out in the local government code. Then they would approve, but they still have to file with the county clerk after they approve it, just like the city of Hillsborough does. I would imagine they'd probably keep a copy of the plat at the city as well. I think Hillsborough does that.
But that takes all the controls that we might have for subdivisions out of our hands.
Just an ETJ, that half mile ETJ. Yes, sir.
So that's like, I've got 2 roads that the city has, their gravel roads that joins my county roads.
I would say the city is going to be much more restrictive in what they'll allow than we are able to. Because they have zoning ordinances, things we can't do. Like we are not, there's no county in the state of Texas has any zoning authority whatsoever. There was one at one time, Ellis County, when they were building that superconductor back in the, I guess, early 90s. They took that back. So we can't say industrial or residential or commercial. The city can do that. They've got a lot stricter. They've got building codes and a fire code, and they have the ability to enforce them. We can't adopt or enforce either one of those due to our population. So their subdivision rules and regulations will be much more restrictive than anything we could do. We just don't have the legal authority to do it. And again, we currently do this with the city of Hillsborough. So, and it's worked out fairly well.
Really, the only issue I think you would have if you had a new subdivision going into the ETJ and your precinct is the entrance is off the road.
Exactly.
And you're still gonna have control over that.
Correct. And we still have to pass a culvert setting policy sometime early next month.
Let's do that.
I think so.
Let's do that.
I would recommend approving this. I think the judge is correct. Generally speaking, you want the incorporated city to have control of their ETJ. So
It quite frankly makes our life easier too. You know, these things are burdensome. We had maybe one every 2 years, 5 years ago, maybe. And now here a while back, we're getting one a week. It's a big load shift. And instead of spending taxpayer dollars to create a whole new office to do that, we took it on the county clerk's office, county judge's office, floodplain. You know, we got a group that meets together when we need to now. We also bring the commissioner in. Again, it's an imperfect system. As much as I like it to be a perfect system, it's imperfect because the resources that we have available to put towards it are limited. I think the city is better set up to do this in their ETJ than we are. And they can impose much stricter regulations. And really, like David said, the building code is one of the main things. I don't want to advertise this out in the public. Right now, you go out and you flip a mobile home on its end. You can call that a structure in Hill County and live in it if you wanted to. There's no regulation unless it's affecting the health and safety of some other party that I can really do anything about that. You can't do that in the city. They're going to say it has to be built to a certain standard. Yes,
They're
sir.
saying how far outside the city limits,
ETJ for City of Whitney should be a half mile.
half a mile.
Yeah. That's typical for a general law city. And I think that's what it's going to be.
So what's it gonna do with the old subdivisions and houses that are there?
Good question. So they'll be grandfathered in the subdivisions. But when they move forward on those houses, like I say, you're going to remodel a house, you're going to have to comply with the city's code, more than likely.
Cause that's gonna take in a lot of like Murray Hills. And part of 2129 Dog Pound, that they're old subdivisions that are in them.
Yeah. That'll be on them going forward.
Okay.
So
I didn't think I was going to get it. I
Okay.
really thought that'd be your exact answer. So,
Okay.
if we get
The
to,
bottom of problem.
not if, but when we get to our over
Mhm.
standardization.
It's fair at this point, yes.
They will still be subject to that.
Yes,
Yes,
because it's a
no.
county road, correct. Anything that's a county road. If a county road goes into city limits, the general rule of thumb, with one or two minor exceptions, is that's now a city street, a city road. They're responsible for maintenance. There are some minor exceptions to that, and I don't want to get down to the weeds today. However, in the ETJ, it's still our responsibility for a county road. And anything that's our responsibility for a county road, we have a limited amount of authority to set what we can and can't do. And one of those things we can do is a culvert setting policy. And I think, quite frankly, from what we're seeing and the way culverts have gone up in price, and really, and for the folks that run trash businesses, I'm not sitting here bad mouthing you. We have some places that have 4 to 5 different trash services on a single road. And we find that those roads seem to have more culverts crushed in on the end than any other roads. I'm not saying the trash trucks did it. I'm just simply saying there could be a correlation there. And I've posited to you guys before that I think that we need to set a culvert setting policy like the state of Texas has, and been working with them to get their information. It's a permit system. I don't think that we should be in direct competition with contractors on setting culverts to people's houses. I think it should be a system where just the same way you apply for a 911 address. Hey, I need a culvert. The commissioner comes out and it needs to be this size. If the commissioner wants to utilize the services from the NRCS to determine the proper size and hydrology, that's good too. And then they pull that permit, they have their contractor set the culvert. We send somebody by to do the inspection, just like the state does. Make sure it's good and they can cover it up and we sign off on it. With that being said, I think it dictates that we start going to sloped ends on culverts. If it be concrete or there's another word I can't come up with here for just the cut ends. Yeah, whatever it is. Safety ends, yes, sir. I think that we have to start moving towards that. I just having that end of that culvert hang out there, that's where it gets crushed. And that's more time and money we're spending on people going out there trying to fixing it. It takes us away from doing other things we could do, and it's a simple fix.
Precinct 2 has changed so much with people moving in. We don't have time to sit and put culverts in, so I'm letting the landowners, I'll tell them what size,
And that's how it should be.
and they put them in.
We've got
I've
5.
had several calls and I'll tell them, well, it's a drainage issue that helps us mitigate erosion on the road. Sometimes we'll set them, or if they'll buy them, we'll set them.
I mean, there's always the discretion of the commissioner when it comes to maintenance, and part of maintenance of drainage on county roads. I'm just saying as a general rule of thumb that we need to have a policy that lays out how we expect people moving into this county going forward. And this is not going to be something retroactive. Just because I say going forward, safety ends and culverts doesn't mean that everybody that has a culvert in the county has to go back and put safety ends on. That's not, no, it's just going forward from whenever we adopt it. But anyway, we have deviated from our subject here at the matter. So before us is a resolution of the city council of the city of Whitney to approve an interlocal agreement with Hill County, Texas for provision of subdivision regulation in the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction.
Make a motion.
There's a motion,
Resolution.
motion to approve, and there's a second over here, I heard. Okay, any further discussion on this?
More than likely too, if a new subdivision goes into the ETJ, the property owners and the homeowners insurance is probably because they're gonna have better power.
Mhm.
So kind of unintended consequence.
Cool. Any further discussion, ladies and gentlemen? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. And Commissioner Crumpton, that brings up you.
Make a motion, adjourn.
I was gonna say, Scott, I need to be able to make a motion to be dominant on that.
No way. No, we'll just move it to wherever you guys are. We can do that.